normal for you.
Witam
When you play
serdecznie.
hardcore mode, that
Oglądam
is
właśnie
maybe
Minecraft
a
Live
little bit more risk-averse,
2024.
unless you want to play very often, very short
Ogólnie
bursts.
słyszałem o przeciekach,
But
że ma
your
być jakiś
experience
Garden
is always going to be
i nowy
unique
mob
and very different
od
because
Bojanku
that
i
one
widziałem
life to live
te
changes the
screeny.
entire way that you
Obejrzałem
play.
kilka filmików na YouTubie na ten temat.
We're super excited for you to try hardcore mode, and maybe you'll feel a little safer if you're able to bring those extra items with you
Zobaczymy.
in the
Na
new
razie o
bundles.
Minecraft Bedrock. Sakiewki.
This is Matthew, take one.
We added bundles to help people pack more into their inventory. So in old versions of Minecraft, if you were digging a tunnel, you might end up with 64 blocks of cobblestone and it fits into one inventory slot.
Tak.
Today, if you dig that same tunnel, you're going to get a lot of different blocks. Even if it's only 64 blocks in total, they're going to take a lot of inventory slots because they don't stack together. A bundle lets you pack those items together, reclaim that space,
No tak.
and have an inventory that feels like it did
64
back in the
przedmioty
early
różne
days of
można
Minecraft.
pomieścić.
When we first came up with
Okej. Jak to wyglądało za kulisami? Produkcja Minecraft film.
And then spending like 3 months in New Zealand on set, we've really enjoyed the journey.
Ja pierdzielę.
We thought a lot about what kind of movie to do,
Tak,
and we
ogólnie
chose live
bardzo
action
skrytykowany z
because it's not
zwiastun,
something
trailer.
that's been seen before on this scale.
Creators have made such
1,7
amazing
miliona
stories
łap
and
w
short
dół
films
do
and
bodaj
content
700
in the animation space, and it was like, oh, this is the
700 000
chance for us doing a film to do something different.
And also kind of wish fulfillment,
Także
because
wiadomo.
I've always wondered, like, what would happen if I would wake up inside the Minecraft
Co ludzie
world?
myślą
Like,
o tym
how would
filmie,
I
o tej
survive,
produkcji?
and would I survive at all?
The idea of being human beings that are actually going into this cubic dimension of the overworld and how those characters are engaging in that space. And it
Ale
just seemed like
zajebiście
so much fun.
Everything is cubic,
to
like everything is
wyglądało?
blocks.
We had just an absolutely amazing crew of talented artists. You know, our production designer, Grant Major, he was the production designer for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. We also are working with Weta, and they all had their own personal relationship with the game.
So when they started designing and
Na jakimś
drawing,
green
it
screenie, a
just
tutaj
really
widzicie
what I like about what you did is that the choices you make, they support the story and the character.
Part of that is because just like every
Zresztą
Minecrafter,
naprawdę
every
było
player,
robione.
they bring their own original story to what they're doing. It's very intentional that this movie is called a Minecraft movie as opposed to the Minecraft movie. We have an ensemble of characters, these unlikely misfits that get thrown into this adventure into the overworld, and we experience a lot of that
Ale szczerze,
through one
według
of our
mnie
characters named
to
Henry.
nie.
He's a young man going
Prawdziwi
through a tough
aktorzy,
time in his life, and he literally has to create to
wklejeni do gry,
survive.
to nie. Za dużo takich filmów było, to jest ogólnie vibe Jumanji. Według mnie, tak jak wcześniej było pokazane tutaj Villager News, coś takiego, z elementy animation, takie coś by pasowało lepiej według mnie. I na to zdecydowana większość czekała. A tutaj mamy takie Minecraft i Real Leafy.
Basically the modder, the person who takes the vanilla game and tweaks it and adjusts it, and then he comes into the Minecraft world and he meets Steve, and Steve knows everything about vanilla Minecraft. We've always said that Steve isn't really a character. Like, Steve is what you make him, right?
Yeah.
And we've all embodied Steve and been Steve and done different things. So our Steve in this movie is Jack Black.
He's such a huge fan of the game. After a long day of shooting, he was up until the wee hours of the night playing. It was so funny.
Steve is kind of demonstrating his skills, and then Garrett tries to demonstrate his skills.
Yeah, and Garrett's the noob.
This is a crafting table. Here's how it works. You place these elements in different patterns, and
Szczerze dziwnie.
you got yourself a...
Jeszcze tak
Here's
cofnę.
how it works. You place these elements in different patterns.
Dobra, nie randomowo jednak, ale dziwnie. Myślałem, że randomowo przedmioty
You got
postawił i
yourself
miecz
a sweet
wytworzył.
blade. You want to see a blade? I'll show you a blade.
Ciekawie, ciekawie.
Yeah. Hammer.
I to jest właśnie to ze zwiastunu.
That's okay, bud. Buckets are useful here.
When we were designing crafting and talking about
Muzyka z Deep Dark.
During daytime, it's
Okej,
quiet,
mamy
like almost
Blady ogród.
serene in the new Pale Garden.
blady ogrody, coś takiego. I tutaj być...
While you might
Fajnie.
feel calm walking around in this forest, there's also an eerie mood.
Ale szczerze bym wolał, żeby to było w endzie i w ogóle mod.
Something isn't
Z
quite
mob,
right.
sorry.
Then,
Bardziej
when
pasuje do endu,
darkness
szczerze.
falls,
Ale to taki
you
last
indeed
creepypasty.
feel another side
Normalnie
of this
Herobrine
place.
w Minecrafcie,
Like the
czy
hanging
Entity
moss shifts
303.
from being pretty
I taki
to
las
really
się generuje.
spooky, and you realize that you're not alone.
Tutaj w sumie ten
There's
ostatnio dodane
something
bagniaki pasują.
lurking in the
Te wiecie,
shadows.
te szkielety nowe, bagienne.
So everything about this biome feels unfamiliar, and this is by design.
Dobra, zobaczymy, co
We
będzie
want
dalej.
you to feel a bit curious and scared. Like, what is this place? Why is it so different from
Ale
everything
szczerze,
else?
kojarzy
What
mi
we
się z
needed for
Twilight
the biome is
Forest.
to have like
Nie
a
wiem
low
czemu.
visibility, and we
Jak z jakiegoś
created
moza.
the
Fajnie to
pale
drewno
hanging moss
wygląda,
for
naprawdę.
this. This really inhibits
normalnie ja bym
like,
tutaj
how
jakiś
much you can
zamek
see,
postawił,
how far
czegoś
you can see, but you can still
opuszczoną
walk
willę
through it.
przerażającą.
So you're traversing through the forest and you're like
Just
trying to
schmack.
find everything, but you don't know what will be behind the hanging moss.
Yeah, it gives you kind of a strange feeling when you enter. It's unnaturally quiet and a feeling of something weird's going on here.
Nice.
I really like the ambiance of the new biome. It invokes really those eerie and spooky feelings.
Yes, eerie indeed. And turns out there actually is something lurking in the shadows. The creaking.
Jest. Ten drewniak, ten
It's our
taki
first
ent, nie wiem czy
tree-like
kojarzycie.
creature, and
Czyli
it's
ten
almost
z
like
drewna.
it's camouflaging in the pale
Stwór,
garden.
ale szczerze
And
myślałem,
when
że to
it's
będzie w
dark at
endzie.
night, it's kind of
Pasuje
hard
do
to
endu.
see it except those like elusive eyes.
Yeah, and it also
nie
interacts
jest
with those
jakoś
trees, which
mocne.
is super fun.
Yeah, there's a special new block
I
that it
ogólnie
has a
mechanika
connection
polega
to.
na tym,
When you approach
Okay.
the creaking, you can actually realize that it doesn't take any damage, and when you try
Trociny.
to hit it, it points you somewhere in the canopies. That's where basically the creaking heart
Trociny,
is,
czy nie?
and that's what controls the
serce.
mob.
One of the main
Moba.
themes of the Pale Garden and its inhabitants is that there's a lot of contrast from the
Okej,
rest of the
tego jeszcze nie
world.
było w Minecrafcie,
So when
tej
we made the
mechaniki.
creaking, we also wanted it to feel unfamiliar and different from other mobs, which is
Fajnie,
why we
no,
made it
naprawdę
more
fajnie.
asymmetric, to really go on this point
fajnie
of like
chodzi.
being different from everything else.
Jak się zakrada zajebiście.
The creaking doesn't exist on its own. It's more of like a puppet of the new block, the creaking heart.
So the creaking heart and its creaking
Serce
puppet
tego.
Really comes with a new combat,
Aha, dobra.
challenge or combat mechanic, both in
będą
the
się
way that
bloki
you
po
need
prostu.
to destroy the
Aha,
heart
jak
block
się to
to
rozwali, to
actually
będzie umierał.
kill the creaking, and also of course that
Ja
the creaking
pierdzielę.
only moves when you look away.
So
Sprytne.
don't blink.
I really like the sandboxiness of the creaking heart. So if I use Silk Touch, you obtain it, and then you can place it anywhere you want
Aha,
in the
Silk Touchem
Minecraft
będziemy
world.
mogli to zebrać.
So if you want to be as evil as the creaking heart itself, you can place it and make your friends really terrified.
To embrace the quietness of Minecraft, we added ambient sounds for this biome that only plays during the night, that
Ale
comes
dziwnie
from
szczerze
the
wygląda.
blocks that
W
surround
połączeniu
you.
z tymi zielonymi
That will
lasami. Bo to
make it
będzie
even
koło
more
lasu się
creepier
generować.
experience for the player.
Koło,
To do that,
puszczy,
you
nie?
need to
Ciemnych
play
dębów.
with the silence and the
W
contrast
sumie
of
jak
the
to,
silence
to
and the
bardzo podobnie
sounds.
wygląda jak jakiś tekstur pack.
So to make creaking, I
prostu
gathered
inne
a lot
kolory,
of creaky stuff that will make
podmienione
creaky
drzewa
sounds.
ciemnego dębu.
Obviously, the biggest thing would
widać,
be
że
to
teksturka
gather
inna już
wood
jest.
and twigs and stuff like that, dead
Nie,
leaves
nie
to get
podmieniona, tylko zmieniona
rustling
kolorystyka.
and creaking. But I also recorded salty sticks, the Swedish snack.
No nie gadaj!
Swedish.
Ja pierdzielę.
And one of the biggest part
jest
actually of the
sprytne.
sound is
Ja
my
też widziałem
table
filmik, jak
creaking, dragging
dźwięki
against the
robią.
floor,
Tutaj
and also
widzicie
a
paluszki
chair.
tylko wystarczyły. Domowe sposoby, jak możecie.
I also recorded teeth. It sounds a bit like bones,
Okay.
maybe, when the mob is walking. So it's
What do you mean by teeth? Oh, okay. So we wanted to make the biome very gray to give this very eerie feeling, right? And with these gray tones, a very fitting new wood set was going to be a white-colored wood set. And this is something that players have wanted for a long time.
Będą białe deski.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the pale oak
Chyba
wood set,
to
especially that in a lot of places people paint their fences
Coś takie
white, for
różowo-białe,
example, for a white
ewentualnie.
picket fence. And that will be exciting for a lot
Ale-
of players to actually represent themselves.
Brzozowe, daleko od brzozowej
And then we
kolorystyki
also have like the
takiej.
hanging moss, and you can bone wheel it. So
No
it's
ciekawe,
renewable.
ciekawe. Białe
So I think
deski,
like
nice.
just bringing it as well
Ciekawe,
and
jak
maybe put
będzie
it in
end
a
update, pewnie
greenhouse,
będą
or things
czarne
hang
deski.
from the roof,
Ale
like a
wątpię,
wild
żeby będą
garden.
chcieli robić jeszcze
Something like that would be really fun to build with
w
it,
tej
I think.
dekadzie.
Yeah, and it's also really unique carpet moss because it also spreads all over the sides of the blocks.
O
And that also
kurcze!
looks really great.
We look for a lot of inspiration, so we've looked at all these kind of different forests all over the
Okay.
world. A tree that stood out
Czyli
was
to nie
like
jest
the
zwykły
willow
taki
tree,
wiecie.
like because it's very hanging. There's a lot of like drapery, and it
Dobra, na tym drzewie się
feels
wyzerowali.
very eerie.
Wierzba płacząca.
Then we looked at like Spanish moss. This was like the inspiration for the pale hanging moss that we've used in the biome eventually,
Ciekawe, czy-
because this gives this like drapey
można
feeling
znaleźć
without
tego
being
mossa.
willow trees, and it was a little bit more versatile and flexible to use in the biome, and could also be used as like building blocks.
Straszna muzyka.
We are super excited to see what you do with these new features and the new game drop.
We want to create
Tak, to będzie
connections
bardzo
between
mała
features
aktualizacja,
because
czyli
the
dropy,
Minecraft
ponieważ
world
teraz
is
nie
an
wydają dużych
ecosystem, and we
update'ów,
really
tylko
want it to feel
dropy.
like that. And the creaking heart and its
I żeby ten
puppets creaking,
ziomek
they really
drewniany
has a
nas nie
new
atakował,
way
trzeba
of
mu się
creating
gapić
this
na
kind of
ryj,
connection.
w oczy
So
po
it's gonna
prostu.
be really
A jak
fun
będziemy
to
uciekać,
see
to on
you
będzie
all
nas gonił po prostu
experiencing it.
i nas
And
będzie atakował.
it's actually coming to snapshots, previews, and betas very soon. So soon you can all try it out.
Villager number 9 here! Sorry for interrupting.
Dzięki za oglądanie. To wszystko. Dobra. Słuchajcie, mają być dropy co kilka miesięcy, co 3. Super, no nie? Ale ogólnie sam fakt, co zrobili przez rok czasu, ja nie mówię, że to jest złe, że to, ogólnie biom mi się bardzo podoba i nowy mop jest spoko, ale naprawdę, jak na rok czasu, to Mojang się opierdzielało. Naprawdę to jest bardzo mało. Co z tego, że będą dropy? No chyba, że jeszcze coś tam robią. No ale to cała aktualizacja to jest porównywalne, słuchajcie, do 1.10 bez kitu. Jeden nowy biom i jeden mob. No to... Kurczę, tymczasem takie 1.7 zostały dodane... Ile? Na pewno kilka albo kilkanaście biomów, coś takiego. Słabo, jeżeli chodzi o zawartość. Naprawdę słabo. No ale w ostatnich latach niestety tak jest. Szczerze, bardziej osobiście wolę prostszy, stary system wydawania wersji, czyli po prostu jeden update na rok i tyle. I zawartość jest pokaźna. Zamiast tutaj kombinować nie wiadomo co. Jakieś właśnie dropy. Jeżeli to będzie jakiś tam update, bo nie wiadomo co zmienią, to będzie zdecydowanie najgorsza, absolutnie aktualizacja w historii. No. Na przykład takie 1.10 było wydane w 2016, co 1.9, nie? To w snapshotach do 1.16 jeden snapshot dodawał więcej niż cała ta aktualizacja, która została zapowiedziana. No cóż, ale tak jak mówię, rzeczy są fajne i chyba w pierwszym snapshocie już wszystko zostanie dodane. Mam wrażenie. Ogólnie spoko, ale zdecydowanie za mało, moim zdaniem. Się nie mogę doczekać. Kurczę, białe deski będziemy mieli na Mikołajkowicach coś budować. Dobra, nic, to już wszystko. Nic nas tutaj nie zaskoczy.
Oh, okay. So far, not so pale.
Getting there.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Here we are. Yeah, so you can see why it's called
Dlatego
Garden,
to tak.
definitely. Yeah, we wanted to go for a look which is eerie, more than spooky.
Bardzo mało. Cześć, trzymajcie się.